I'd like to welcome to the show Richie Faulkner of Elegant Weapons. And also, you might know him from another band, small band called Judas Priest at the moment. But yeah, we're here to talk about his new album, Horn for a Halo, which is out on the 28th of May via Nuclear Blast Records. Welcome, Richie.
Brother, how are you, man? It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for all the support. And yeah, looking forward to yakking away about the new record, man.
Excellent, excellent. I was just saying to before I hit record, I've literally been playing this all day. And I went to go pick up my daughter earlier and I had it playing in the car. And she goes, "Oh,
She's like, what's this rubbish?"
I know. She was like, she's like, at first she was like, "What's the name of this band?" She was like, "Elegant Weapon." She's 13, so she's kind of with it, but you know, she's not the actually, she's probably the most into rock music out of my daughters. So,
That's fun.
but she really loved the track "Bitter Pill."
Oh, cool.
I know this is a track like no one's heard this track yet, apart from obviously
Yeah.
and such. But she was like listening to it. I really like this track. What's it called? And I should just tap my phone, and we'll, you'll find out. And yeah. So just as a thing today, just to give you a little like boost.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I mean, that's all you can hope for, really. I mean, obviously, we come from legacy bands, myself with Priest, and hopefully we can take the torch and pass it on to the younger generations, and hopefully they dig it and come to shows, and then in turn they start bands and start music and take that DNA into their generation. So that's all we can hope for, really.
No, definitely. And I was sort of surprised because she likes AC/DC and stuff like that. She's always been my little rocker.
Parenting done right there, sir. Parenting
yes.
done right.
Yeah. Just try and steer them away from K-pop at the moment, but I'm losing that. Because that is a relentless music scene, that one. But yeah, no, it's like the album itself, and we'll talk about it in a moment. But what I want to do is get like an origin story of this band, because you've got quite a few sort of names in there. Like obviously yourself, you had in the studio, you had Scott Travis on drums, which is obviously one of your people in Priest as well. And you had Rex Brown on bass as well, a legendary bassist right there.
Dude, I've been blessed, fortunate. I mean, it's unbelievable. The people that are connected with this record, I've been just so lucky. Obviously, Scott, I've been connected with for the last 12 odd years with Priest, and I always promised Scott, like if I ever did anything outside of Priest, that he'd get first refusal, and I was just lucky that he was able to do the record. Rex as well. I mean, Rex Brown. I mean, what a legend. I called him up. He's a friend of mine. I called him up and said, "Rex, I've got this record. Would you be able to play on it?" And it was just a stab in the dark, really. I just thought I was pushing my luck a bit, asking Rex, and he said, yeah, he'd love the songs and he'd love to do it. And I mean, I couldn't believe it, really. I mean, obviously, the commitments with Pantera, there wouldn't be any live stuff with Rex. But I mean, just having Rex and Scott and Ronnie, I mean, on a record, incredibly fortunate. And then moving forward with Christopher Williams from Accept, Davey Rimmer from Uriah Heep, and Ronnie Romero. I mean, again, just blessed with a phenomenal group of musicians and friends, really. To surround myself with. I mean, they make me sound good, so that's the secret, really.
That is always the secret, isn't it, with bands? You've got to surround
yourself. Surround yourself with phenomenal musicians, and the rest will take care of itself.
No, definitely. That's good advice for anyone out there. That one. I mean, Rex Brown's he's one of my favorite bassists. Because bass is my sort of like weapon of choice, if you will, or it was back years ago. And he was one of the like driving kind of like forces to the sort of style that I had, which was very kind of like gritty, almost raw, but just a lot of groove, but a lot of power and grit, basically.
Exactly that. Funny you should use the word weapon of choice. Actually, that's where the name comes from, the Elegant Weapons. It is about the I'm looking at one right now. The Flying V is my weapon of choice. And it's beautiful, but it's deadly. And that's where the name comes from. But when Rex sent the bass tracks through, that's exactly what they were. They were dirty, they were groovy, they were just it gave a vibe that was unmatched, And these guys, you don't have to say do this or do that. You just say do what you do. And you know what you're getting when you get Rex Brown on bass. You don't have to tell him what to do. You know what you're getting. And it's just it was phenomenal when those bass tracks went down. And yeah, I mean, if I heard Rex, you know, like that, I think that would be my weapon of choice if I had to decide now.
No, that's it's. I mean, it sounds amazing. I mean, anyone. There's a couple of tracks people can go listen to now because when this comes out, the album won't be out yet. But I know Do or Die out, and you've got. Is it the video accompanying that one, or is it the? There was a video with that, wasn't there? Do or Die.
Do or Die is a video. Yeah, we're in a retro pinball arcade, which kind of summarizes the message of do or die, play the game, take the shot, you know, shoot your shot, you know, and do it 1,000%. That was the kind of sentiment behind the song, and so the pinball arcade was the perfect choice for the video, really.
Yeah, definitely. And you've got Blind Leading the Blind as well. That was the other track you've released out for people to listen to right now.
Yeah, Blind Leading the Blind. Basically, I mean, it's self-explanatory, really, the title, but the video, we went the political angle because it is a bit more dramatic visually. And just the fact that, you know, sometimes there's people in power that lead, you know, they have people, they have our trust and they don't necessarily know what they're doing. You know, I'm a relatively new father and I'm trying to lead my daughter in the best way that I know, and I don't have a clue what I'm doing either. So, but you know, it's the same kind of thing. But the political angle or the religious angle, that always has more drama. So that's the way we went with the video.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can totally align with that with having children, and even now, I've got a stepdaughter who's almost 20. I've got a 15-year-old. I've got a 13-year-old, and I still don't know what I'm doing half the time.
It is the blind leading the blind, man. I totally relate to you.
Yeah, totally. I was going to say it doesn't get any easier either. So you've got
brilliant. Thanks for that.
All right, just give you that little bit of hope there. Not really, but yeah. I was going to say off the album as well. I really love the title track. Horns for a Halo. It's one of my favorite tracks off the album. It's proper. It's just real heavy, kind of dark. Kind of gave me. I don't like naming sort of like bands that sound like, but like a Dio, a Sabbath, like sort of real sort of groovy feel to it. Was that the sort of aim with that track, or is it, you know, obviously you want your own style, but you're paying homage to those who have come before us as well?
1,000%. You hit the nail on the head. I remember when first of all, it's one of my favorite tracks as well. When I remember writing the riff to that song, the main riff. You know, you've got to save it as something. So you know, you save the file, and I called it as a working title. I called it "Iomi" because I thought this reminds me of like something Iomi might write. You know, that kind of the same feeling I get when I hear, you know, Sabbath.
Yeah,
you know, and those influences, I don't think should be. You know, I don't think you should be ashamed of those influences. I'm proud of those. I've always been proud of my influences. I think they've been, you know, just as a guitar player, it's been Zakk Wylde, it's been Michael Schenker, it's been Dave Murray, and I've never shied away from them. And this is no different. I'm proud of my influences musically. So, so yeah, it's Sabbath, it's Alice in Chains, it's Dio, it's all that type of stuff, and it's there for the world to see. You know, I'm proud of those influences. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
No, that's amazing. I mean, I was gonna like throw in some, like, I was gonna say grunge, sort of the darker side. So, you know, Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots, that sort of vibe to it, as well. But no,
exactly.
Don't shy away from
hit the nail on the head, man.
Amazing. That's amazing. That's good, because I like, because some artists I've spoken to are like, oh yeah, but we were going for our own thing, and but I was always like, I've always been a thing of like, we always pay homage to what came before me. So what came before me was Sabbath. What came before me, in fact, was Priest, stuff like that. I mean, I've got records behind me, like proper vinyl records of all those bands. And some of the music I used to write, even though it was in a sort of like different subgenre, there were always elements of those bands in there. So, you know, if it was, you know, Guns N' Roses, if it was Sabbath, if it was, you know, those bands.
And the thing is, man, you know, these bands, they're legendary bands. It will never. I mean, you can pay homage to these bands. It will never be like them. You know, hold on, my battery's going. It'll never be them. you know, it's always going to sound. I mean, you get Ronnie, and, you know, you could try as hard as you want to sound like Sabbath. You're never going to sound like Sabbath. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
Yep.
you can pay homage to it, and you know you're going to get your own sound anyway. There's 4 musicians in a band. They're all going to come together and create something unique, hopefully. So I don't think there's anything wrong with paying homage. You're going to create something unique by default, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely. But how did the, like, you know, what was the sort of like catalyst of bringing your own band together? Because obviously you're obviously, we'll go into your health emergency you had a few years ago, but you've been touring. Yeah, that's kind of like, I'm just sugarcoating it, aren't I? But no, like, you've been touring with Priest. I know you joined them, like they've been sort of had a farewell tour going and things like that, and it's kind of one of those things that kind of kept going, which is nothing wrong, because I've seen Priest a few times, and fantastic band. I've seen you with them, in fact. And you know, what sort of like pushed you to sort of, you know, create your own band? What was your sort of impetus behind that?
Well, you kind of touched on it a little bit there, really. When I joined the band, it was the farewell tour. So, I mean, I would have been silly, really, not to consider what I was going to do after that. And I had a conversation with Glenn Tipton about the fact that Priest aren't going to be around for 20, 25 years. This is the farewell tour. You know, that was just the reality of the situation. I mean, luckily, as you said, Priest are still around, you know, 12 years later, putting out new music, doing tours, and the world's a better place for it. But at the time, it was put in my brain that, you know, I better start thinking about what I'm going to do after this, you know. And, you know, 10 years later, I had the opportunity to do it. And I didn't want to kind of get the gig with Priest and then all of a sudden put my own thing out either. I wanted to dedicate my musical life to Priest as well. You know, they welcomed me in, the fans welcomed me in. I wanted to dedicate, you know, that was my band now. You know, I was part of that. And that was the way I wanted it to be. I think when the pandemic rolled in, we weren't touring. You know, no one was doing anything, and I had some time there to sort of evaluate some ideas that I've been working on, maybe some songs ideas, and did I have anything that I could put out, and did I have an EP or an album or a band, and just kind of take stock of any ideas that I had. And the pandemic kind of allowed me the opportunity to be able to do that. And I wanted something that stood on its own sonically outside of Priest. And I went from there, really. And that's basically what I did. So it was kind of a long process. It's always been in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
But the pandemic enabled me the time to be able to do that.
Okay. All right, cool. And obviously coming out of the pandemic, Priest back on the road, and then well, let's go into your health scare. You had an aortic aneurysm. Is that correct? Was that the technical term?
Yeah, I think it was my other half gets this right. I always get this wrong. It was a complete aortic dissection and aneurysm. So the whole thing, our aorta goes from up the top here all the way down to our groin, and the whole thing dissected, which means it's split. The whole thing split, and the aneurysm was around this area here. So
Okay.
that had to get in there and open my chest up, and you know, it was during painkiller, which was, you know, of course it was during painkiller. You know, if it was going to be any time, it was going to be then, wasn't it? You know, it wasn't going to be under controlled circumstances or anything like that. It was going to be during a gig. But ironically, it was lucky that it was at a gig, because I was 4 miles away from one of the leading heart hospitals in the US.
Okay.
I could see the gig from the hospital window, like it was that close. So it was one of those situations where everything lined up, and it kind of saved my life, really. The situation, if it was going to happen, the situation that it happened under kind of couldn't have been any better, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I came out the other end, luckily, and I'm talking to you now. So
I mean, that's amazing in itself. Like just sort of you explaining exactly what kind of happened, and I'm like, that is just like medically. I mean, I'm not a medical person in that respect, so I don't understand everything that goes.
Yeah.
It just sounds so crazy, and obviously have it being near one of the leading heart specialists or general sort of specialists. It's just it was not like it was meant to be, but like you said, it couldn't have happened at a better time or a better place.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean,
It could have happened at any point, I suppose. Is it one of those things, or was it the fact that like you were like being very energetic and like exerting yourself on stage, and was that what caused it, or do you know like anything that was the trigger for it?
well, they say it was high blood pressure, but I don't know that high blood pressure would have caused a complete aortic dissection. I don't know, man. It's
I
one
don't
of
know.
those anomalies. Whenever I talk to doctors about it, they're scratching their heads. They don't understand it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
you could get into you know, the theories of what it could have been, but that's for another conversation. But
That's funny, isn't it? It's like
yeah, but and people don't normally get to the hospital. They normally go down and they don't get up. So just the fact that I got to the hospital and they were able to operate and able to save my life was just, I mean, a miracle in itself. They're the miracle workers. But it's when you come to and you start reading, because obviously you don't know anything about it until it happens.
yeah.
When you start reading about what happened and exactly what it is, you start realizing how lucky you were. So it's every day, getting back to what we're saying, like every day that goes by is just you count your blessings. I'm able to make music, I'm able to tour, I'm able to play, I'm able to talk to you. You know what I mean? I'm incredibly lucky to be here, still doing what I'm doing, and other people aren't so fortunate. So I count my blessings every day.
No, I mean that's fantastic. I mean, what sort of like, obviously coming back to playing from something like that, are you back playing live now? Are you still haven't ventured onto stage yet? Is there I don't is there what was the is there a fear that was there a fear there or anything, or was it lifestyle?
Well, I went down at the end of September, and I was back on stage at the beginning of March the following year. So I was determined to do it. I was, because it kept me going. It kind of helped. It was like a medicine to have that target, to get back to normal, to get back on stage, to get back on the horse, so to speak. It kind of it was important for me to do that, whether it was right or wrong, I don't know. But I went through cardiac rehab and made sure that I was fit enough to do it. And funny enough, they were one of the questions that they asked me some questions, and they said, do you wear anything on stage that might be different than normal? The reason that they were asking me is because they had to make sure that I was drinking enough fluids. So the medication would work. And they said, do you wear anything on stage that might impede that? I'm like, well, yeah, actually, I wear leather and studs and all this silliness. So they had to take that into consideration. So I was getting enough fluids so the medication would work, So that was a funny thing, really, that I had to kind of go into detail with the surgeons about all the leather and studs. But no, it was imperative for me that I got back on stage and got back to what I do. And that's part of who I am,
And did it change your sort of lifestyle? Did it make any lifestyle changes for you or anything like that? Have you changed anything since then? Have you obviously special diets or obviously medication's going to help, but was there anything like consciously they said you cannot do this anymore, or are you back to health now?
I'm very lucky. I keep saying it. I'm very lucky, very fortunate. It's medication for the rest of my life, and I have to watch how many greens I eat. Funny enough, because my heart's fine. I have to watch how thick my blood is. I've got a mechanical valve.
Okay.
So it means I have to make sure that my blood is thin enough to go through the valve, but not too thin that I bleed out if I cut myself. So eating greens thickens your blood because of the vitamin K in it. So that's the stuff I've got to be careful of, crazily enough.
Yeah.
And again, like, people lose their limbs, they lose their eyes, they lose their, people lose a lot more than what I've got to go through. So again, I'm incredibly fortunate. It's a challenge sometimes, and it's something I've got to live with for the rest of my life. But in comparison to what other people have to go through, it's nothing, and I'm very lucky just to have to deal with that.
Definitely, definitely. And how did that? I mean, did that influence your album at all? Like when creating, obviously, because I know you put a lot of thought into this during like lockdown and stuff like that. And you know, how did that or has this moment influenced this album? Did it reaffirm that you wanted to do something like
Well, luckily it was already recorded when I went down,
oh,
but I needed to get it mixed, mastered, packaged, artwork done, label secured, that sort of stuff. After I came out the other side. But it was important, really, when I was able to do it. I called up management and I said, "Listen, I'm healthy enough. I feel like I can do it. Let's get back on with it because I want to do it." As I said to you before, it was important for me to get back on the horse and do it because, like, you never know what's around the corner. It's you never know how long we've got left. You know, even you could be at the peak physical condition, playing Painkiller with Judas Priest, and you go down.
yeah.
You know, you never know what's around the corner. So it was important for me to get it finished, get it out, and continue as soon as I could. So it didn't change really, but it kind of it focused me. It got me thinking about, let's get back and do it. Let's get back and finish it, and let's continue. Let's carry on. This is who I am. I don't know how long I've got left. No one knows how long I've got. So if you've got something to say, you've got something to do or put out there, then let's get on and do it, and don't hang around. I'll sleep when I'm dead, and I almost did. But that's the kind of philosophy, really. Let's keep going and do what you do and do it to the best of your ability.
I mean, you like saying that. I mean, you would have gone out at possibly one of the most sort of like heavy metal rock moments, and it would never have been. I mean, it won't be forgotten as it is, but
No, it would have been a story for sure. I mean, it's a shame I wouldn't have been around to tell it, but
no, it's good that you are around to tell it. Like that's what makes it even more legendary. It's like you're here.
I understand what you mean. It's definitely it's I mean, I wish I wouldn't have gone through it, but it's a story for sure. You know what I mean?
Definitely. So with that in mind, with the band in mind, what are your plans? Obviously, the album comes out next month. And what do you have any touring plans at all or anything? Are you gonna bring it over here?
Well, yeah, it's a priority really. I didn't want to be a band that puts out a record, and that's it. I wanted a band that puts out a record, does live dates, does tours, does support slots, does headlining tours, goes back in the studio, does album number 2, number 3, grows and evolves like that. That's always been my priority in any band that I've been in. So album's coming out, as you said, next month.
Yeah.
We are coming over to Europe in June and July, doing some festival dates. We've got some dates with Pantera. We're doing Hellfest. We're doing Grass Pop. We're doing, I think we're doing Steelhouse Festival in the UK in July. That at the moment is our only UK show, but hopefully we're going to get more. And then beyond that, we're looking at other opportunities, before the Priest Machine starts up again. And obviously, Christopher's still with Accept. He's out at the moment with Accept. Davey, he's still with Uriah Heep, and Ronnie's doing dates with Michael. So we're still in other bands. So we've got to work around that. But as long as we can, and we can get opportunities with Elegant Weapons, we're going to get them. So as I said, it's the drive to take this band out on the road and take it to the fans and evolve as a band, and then go back in the studio at some point and record album number 2. So it's a very sort of important priority for all of us to take this band on the road. So we're doing that very soon in June.
Excellent. No, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Hopefully, I'll be able to catch you while you're in the UK. I don't know if I'm going to be attending Steelhouse or not yet, but we'll find out.
What? You could have lied there, man. Just lie. Just say, yeah, I'll see you there. No one's gonna know.
I know. I'm too honest. No, I was just like, what was I gonna say? It was how, like with the like guys you're with in the band and the guys you recorded with, and the guys you got for your live set. Like, obviously, everyone's your main back, like being Priest and everything, like take priority when that starts rolling, then you're in priest mode. But logistic wise, like how is that like sort of obviously with accept and your heap and all that kind of stuff? How does that like that must be kind of a mild headache, like just logistic wise. Is it something that you guys have like even like collectively thought about to sort of like get out on the road and said, okay, we're not doing anything here, and it's sort of making sure that there's kind of other bands aren't doing things at the same time?
Well, yeah, obviously it's a consideration
Yeah,
at the moment. With a new band like this, we've got to consider everyone's bread and butter. You can't just say, well, you're not doing that anymore, you're doing this. But I think the long view is that we're all in legacy bands that I don't they're not going to be around maybe as long as we are.
yeah,
So at some point, I spoke earlier on about carrying the torch into the future. If and when these bands decide to call it a day, we can then take that DNA, take that legacy in Elegant Weapons into the future. At the moment, obviously those bands are still going, and obviously we want them to go as long as they can. But if that day ever comes, we can then obviously the logistics become a bit easier. It becomes this becomes it.
yeah,
Because we've laid the groundwork for it. But until that point, we just have to work around it, and that's why we're all here. Partly the reason I'm talking to you is because of the band
yeah.
that I'm in, and I'm grateful for that, and I understand that. But hopefully one day that will be part of the story, and we'll all be able to move forward into the future because of it.
Yeah.
And until then, as I said, it will just be part of the logistics that we'll have to deal with.
Okay. That's all good. I was just like, because I've spoken to a few sort of bands that have other bands going on, and it's always mind boggling because whenever I was in that band, I was always in one band. I've never been in multiple bands, so I've never had that kind of like moment of like, where do I go from here? But I was always curious how that works. But no, that sounds like obviously where your like you say bread and butter is made, but you also consider what will happen after that as well, which is what needs to
Yeah.
happen. There's always,
As I said, I don't think any of us would be here without those motherships that we're in, and no one would care. So we're grateful for that. So that's just the way it is. But
cool.
we'll see what happens in the future.
Cool. Well, I got a couple of questions left for you, if that's all right. Just a couple of
Of
quick
course.
ones, and then I'll let you get on with the rest of your day. I'm sure you've got a few more of these to do, unless this is your last one. I don't know, but you've
I
probably
think
got
I've got a couple more, yeah.
a couple more. All right, I won't keep you too long then. What I want to know from you, if you could, basically, I ask everyone these questions, but it's basically, if you could pinpoint 3 albums that really kind of like pivotal for you. So not necessarily your favorite albums, but albums that kind of like when you heard that you wanted to play guitar, or you wanted to be in a band, or and yeah, just those sort of like those sort of albums. Could you pinpoint 3?
Electric Ladyland,
Yeah,
specifically Voodoo Child.
yeah,
Probably Iron Maiden Power Slave.
nice.
Or no, Live After Death, I think it probably was.
Okay, yep,
Because that really was a band on stage. You know what I mean? It wasn't
yeah,
a band in the studio with production stuff. It was a band on stage. So Live After Death, and maybe the third one's tough. Because I don't want to leave any of them out. There's tons of them.
like the first metal album you heard.
First metal album, it was either Master of Puppets or I always get confused if it was Master of Puppets or Injustice for All.
Okay,
It was one of them.
one of those two. Well, they're 2 solid albums. all 4 of those albums you've mentioned are completely solid, and I mean they're good pivotal points as well. It's one of those things, like it's just a random question I like to ask just to sort of see what people were listening to and what sort of changed them, what put them into a path where they are now. So
yeah, still listen to them, still refer to them when I'm lost.
Yeah,
in the sea of notes. I'll always go back to them, and for guidance.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. That's excellent. Finally, what are your hobbies away from music? So when you're not producing music for Elegant Weapons or Judas Priest or anything like that, what do you do?
Do you know I like to eat? I like to eat. I like a good margarita.
Okay, good.
And I paint Warhammer 40,000. I paint Space Marines.
Fantastic.
Like a good nerd.
Yeah.
What else do I do? I collect Star Wars stuff.
I can show you this. I do this, which is in the Warhammer family.
Necromunda.
So everything around me behind here, I've got like paint pots and brushes and stuff. So,
dude, it's almost like you can't say that stuff, but like I don't care, like because I'm in Judas Priest, so I'll say what the fuck, you know.
Exactly. I don't, it doesn't like I happily tell people that this is what I do. So
I don't know if this is true or not, but it seems to be a rapidly expanding thing, and I don't know if that's just because I've got more involved in it recently. You see things that the algorithm, like the more you see it, the more you click on it, the more you see. I don't know if that's the case, but it just seems to be more of it around. More people getting involved. But I love it, man. I can sit there for hours and put on like the Blade Runner soundtrack and paint some white scars or whatever. But I love collecting amplifiers and guitars. That's what I like doing. What else do I do? I love playing with my daughter and my dog. I love collecting. Well, my recent collection is Ninja Turtles.
Oh, cool.
I just got a collection of originals from 88, I think it is. Okay. They're actually over there. I don't know if you can see them. They're actually over there on the wall.
In the packets. Is that what's in the in the blister packs? Oh, nice.
Yeah, unpunched. Yeah. So I like collecting things, but yeah, that's basically it, really. What else? They're the main things.
Yeah.
Amplified is a main thing. I like white Marshalls, old white Marshalls.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about it.
Oh, that's all solid stuff right there. I like the Warhammer collection though. That's good. That's like this.
Yeah, bro. Like literal heavy metal. I mean, if you look at the Firepower record, and then you look at Eldar, I think they're Eldar Titans, and you can see there's some references there. I sent the artist some ideas when we were coming up with the Firepower. I don't know if this is common knowledge or not, but I sent the artist some ideas for what we were seeing for the character for the Firepower record, and I sent him some Eldar Titans, and there's definitely some references from Warhammer on there. From the Firepower record. So yeah,
work now, and yeah, it's that's amazing. I love that. But yeah, no, cool. Richie, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, and yeah, good luck with the record and everything. Hopefully I'll be coming up to Steel. Forgot the name. It's Steel.
Come on.
I will try and get to that festival.